Are you looking for a life of freedom and flexibility? Do you want to have as much success with your family as you do in business? Here in the Entrepreneurial Family Man podcast, we break down the barriers and bust the myths that are keeping you from living your best life at home and at work. You deserve a thriving family, rich faith, and business success. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Family Man podcast.
Welcome back to another edition, another episode, another conversation with the Entrepreneurial Family Men podcast. And today we want to tackle this idea of how to make your business trip a vacation. Now, I want to start out by saying we are not licensed CPAs or attorneys, so consult your own. But we want to talk around this idea that if freedom and flexibility in your life, in your work, in your family are key components to your values, then how could you use a different lens to look at work trip opportunities, conferences, even a vacation? How could you combine all these into one to maximize your travel dollar, to maximize the time? If you've got to go to a conference and you're going to be gone from your family for several days, what would it look like to bring them with you? What systems, what routines, what conversations do you have to have with your spouse, with your kids, in order to make this a true success? And so today we just want to tackle a few of these points, dig in, and try to maybe shift the paradigm a little bit here on not being so narrow-minded on what that trip is about. Guys, I want you to jump in and talk with me here about when you have someone who's just focused on a job and there's this clear separation of silos, and work is in one and family is in the other, and never shall they mingle. Is that true, or how could we approach this differently?
Well, there's a little bit of reprogramming that needs to happen, I think. We weren't all just born into entrepreneurship. Most of us in the past have had a 9-to-5 job or have worked for someone else in a specific area. And we are not used to this idea of combining fun and vacations and trips with business and work. So there's a little bit of a shift in our perspective that needs to happen.
Yeah, I would even take it a step further, Michael.
You take it.
We have been taught that work shouldn't be fun. So why would we give ourselves permission to go to some place where we're supposed to do work and actually have a good time?
Yeah, because you're supposed to be miserable the whole time, right?
Yeah, work is supposed to suck, right? Like, oh, you're laughing. I'm joking, obviously. But, we have one life and we've chosen to take a different path. So why wouldn't we look for continual win-wins? And that's why I am excited about this conversation. But I will say, Chris, that when we started this call, you had a little mustache on and you looked just like Tony Dungy. I'm kind of upset that you took it off because that was a lot of fun.
Well, I'm not used to having any hair on my head at all, so that one I kind of itched a little bit.
Yeah, but you can't see this, but as soon as I said that, he lit up like a Christmas tree, like Rudolph. His whole face got red, so that was good.
All right, back to the conversation.
Sorry,
here. We're talking about, do you or do you not blur the lines of family and business? And what does that look like? Maybe they don't have to be separate. Jamie, you guys just talked about how work, if you're doing the work you love and the work you enjoy, does it really matter what zip code you're sitting in? No. And so let's talk through this and how this has worked for us in terms of incorporating business, incorporating family, and travel into those things to make it to where you're having fun doing both. Your wife's having fun. She's out of the house going on an adventure with you and coming alongside your work, and your kids getting to see some of that work that you're doing and realizing, hey, because of daddy's hard work, this is paying for this trip. This is pretty cool, right?
Yeah, and I know none of us live in the same zip code as our parents, and our kids want to be around their grandparents. And so we get the opportunity to do these trips more frequently because we can take our work with us and create systems that work. it's better for our kids too, right? It's not just about us enjoying life better.
Yeah, this is absolutely essential for me. So my wife's family is from Houston, Texas area, and we are 2 flights away from them. So there's no directs from where we are in Buffalo to Houston. So when we go there, we're going to spend some time there, and that's going to be at least a week, maybe more than that. And I can't just put my business down when I'm visiting family. So this is an essential concept for me every year. So that they're Coptic, which is actually Orthodox Egyptian Christianity. And so they celebrate Christmas Day on January 7th.
Wait, 2 Christmases?
2 Christmases every year, baby. But I'm in work mode, right? So my Christmas is over, my New Year's over. I'm ready to get to work. Not her family. They're ready to celebrate. They're ready to spend time together and have fun together. So there's some things that need to be worked out in advance before I go there to make the most of that trip. But what a blessing it is that I can combine my work with an awesome family visit to another place.
That's good.
That's a big, big blessing to have that, and to have the freedom in your lifestyle to do that. And that leads us to a big point here is understanding the expectations before the trip and carefully planning before the trip, right? Because if your wife is going to be going on this trip thinking, hey, it's Christmas time, we're all off, but the calendar just turned and you're thinking, I've got to be in like hustle mode this particular week, that's not going to work. And so how do you get on the same page with your spouse, with your family, to ensure that trip is a success? Like, what conversations have worked for you guys to ensure that you're setting yourself up and your wife up and your kids up for success when you might have to be in meetings some of the time?
I can tell you what doesn't work. Just winging it. It'll be fine. Yeah, we'll go there. It'll be fun. It'll be Christmas time. I'll steal away for a few hours here and there to get my work done, and it's just going to be awesome. I'll tell you where that leads. Frustration on my part because I'm not getting the work done that I need to be successful with my work. And also some frustration from my wife and her family because, our big moment to celebrate Christmas is here, and where's Michael? He's upstairs trying to take a call or something. So that does not work to wing this thing. You are going to have such a more enjoyable and productive vacation if you take the time in advance to print out your calendar, sit down with your wife, and show her exactly what you have, what's necessary while you're on this trip, what's absolutely crucial that you have to get done on this trip. Show her that. Show her when those times are, when those days are. Communicate that to the people that you're going to spend time with as well. So I'll do that. I'll call up my in-laws and we'll talk about, okay, from this time to this time, I have a very important call that I have to take. Is there a space that's quiet that I can use at your place when I'm visiting? Get all those details worked out in advance, and we're both on the same page, and then we can be where we are. And it makes the whole thing so much more enjoyable.
That's good, Mike. I like that idea of actually getting your kids' grandparents, your in-laws, actually involving them in it. They want to see the kids more. They want to see you guys more. You guys are working together as a team. That's really cool. In our family, the older kids, Cecilia's 10 and Diego's 12, we're starting to get them involved more in the business. So not just having a conversation with Ruthie about what we both need to get done, but they can help out with the little ones. And that's been really helpful. So we explain, this is a lifestyle that we're trying to do as a family. Mommy's got this call. Poppy's got this call. I have to do some work at night. And we try to, very similar to what you were saying, make a schedule together. Definitely, I think husbands and wives need to really be on the same page talking about how can we fulfill all those family obligations, all that stuff with the kids moving around. And, if you're in a really cool location, there's places that you want to go with the family, having everybody on the same page. And we've actually had some calls when we're in the car unexpectedly and have to train our children. When we tell you that we need to make a quick 5-minute call, this is family time, but there's, sometimes fires happen in business. We need to take a call. You just feel like you need to connect with somebody. I want to train them to be involved in the family business because I want them to have the freedom to do stuff like this when they're older. Get everybody involved.
Jamie, you guys spent a couple different trips of several weeks at a time in Mexico at a Airbnb last year as a family. So how did you and Ruthie approach planning for those in advance, knowing that you were going to be gone 2-3 weeks at a time and planning your family schedule around certain calls you had to make, certain business you needed to get done? What did that do for you when you had that conversation in advance?
Well, before I would go to the weekly meetings, one thing I would say that'd be really helpful is that we created a home base. So we sort of set up not a mobile home, but we had like our own home there. We rented a house. And because we were staying for 3 and 4 weeks at a time, we wanted to have our own space where we could kind of plug into the culture. So that would have been nearly impossible for us to do what we did if we had just a hotel room, because it would have been, hey guys, you need to leave for 3 hours because we're getting this work done. And that creates tension in a family. We took a risk this year, actually, of trying to do some world school where we would actually plug into the culture. And this house that we rented, it just had all these little nooks and crannies and cool balconies and little places that we could go and get work done. So I think logistically, having these places where you can go to get work done is another thing important. So we talked earlier about when you travel someplace. I know, Chris, you always go to Embassy Suites. You kind of know the layout. You get to the hotel and you pop open your laptop. It's already logged in. I think creating systems that work over and over again. And then a lot of times we stay at Drury hotels. We stay at Aloft. Our kids know their way around a hotel, even if it's the first time they've ever gone, because the facilities are very similar and they know how to go to the reception and get a hotel key or stuff like that. So you want to set up systems.
That's good, having that familiarity that your kids even know and can adopt and appreciate. I know that this particular point, Michael, that you were making about knowing before you go and planning. If I could just chime in. So last year we had the opportunity to, one of my companies, we take people and their groups on cruises, and we had a couple clients within about the same month that paid for my cabin. So I decided, hey, let's take the whole family. And so each of those clients were a little bit different, but one in particular needed a lot of planning on my part certain days. And so Alicia and I literally sat down. I had the client's exact daily itinerary to the hour of what were needed. And then we just created and crafted our family's itinerary in advance. And we knew, and she knew, hey, there are certain like non-negotiables. Daddy has to be out of the cruise cabin at 7:30 in the morning for this particular thing. And if we're trying to get out together and it doesn't happen at that time, there's just understood we've got to go. But what that allowed was, like you guys just talked about, being on that same page. She knew what she was getting into. The kids knew it. And there were just these certain segments of the week where, daddy had to be gone for certain times, but then we had all this awesome family time. And hey, that was great because it was 20 degrees back home and we're in the Caribbean sailing together. So it was a pretty good opportunity. And my wife was totally on board, even if she knew there are certain segmented times where we're not going to see you. And she was fine with that. But again, that has to happen. That conversation has to happen before you go, not during the chaos when there's a dirty diaper, a kid screaming, and someone else is hungry. And then you've got to go, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you find that limiting, guys, if that sounds like constricting to have that tight of a schedule, I want you to experience not having one, because that is a disaster. There is freedom when you set some boundaries in place and you put a plan together. I'm telling you, do that work on the front end and it will make this experience so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, and I'll add this too. Chris, that was pretty inspiring, talking about you taking your family on a cruise and doing work. It's really important that we have these conversations with our family. Like, we are doing this together for our business, and start to take some of those pronouns instead of saying daddy or papa is going on this business trip and we're coming along. No, like, our family is doing this amazing trip. And when the kids and mom are covering for dad, we're all working together to hit these goals together as a family.
Another thing to think about too, guys, is leverage the place that you're in. If you're visiting a place, so often entrepreneurs will work with folks all over the world. I know I have the privilege of doing that as a coach. I have clients all over the country. If I happen to be traveling to a place to visit family or visit friends or go on vacation, and there's a client that I've either worked with and working with now or want to work with, this is a great opportunity to connect with that person in person. Like sit down with them, have a meal with them, deepen that relationship. That's where your business is even going to grow a little bit more. When you take those opportunities, maybe there's an influencer or a business partner that you want to connect with or meet with. Take advantage. Go for it. Set, again, part of the planning process. Don't wing that one either, because you could travel all this way and then they're not available at that time. But if you plan ahead, man, there's some cool opportunities that you can create as well.
Good point, Mike. I'm going on a business trip to San Diego in about a week or so. And, I wasn't planning on seeing any of the people that were going to be there. But now that you guys are saying this, I'm thinking I might want to get together with you guys and maybe make a party out of it. I
got an idea. Let's go surfing.
Hey.
That's a lot of fun.
So, yeah, we are all going to be in San Diego at Social Media Marketing World here soon. And, we've planned this out, but certainly it's a business-focused trip. We're going to learn a lot, but we're doing this together to grow each other, grow this community, grow our own businesses. But yeah, we actually created a little fun surf trip marketing or meetup opportunity beforehand. So we're going to have pleasure and business all in one, and it's going to be a blast. And that's how we approach our work, because we enjoy it and we look for opportunities to have fun along the way, which is big to say for me being a 3, that we're looking for fun.
Oh, you love having fun. Chris, you're a fun guy.
When you say it's going to be a blast, does that mean I'm going to get driven down into the sand by the waves over and over again? Because I think that's going to happen.
Just the first time.
Yeah. I see.
But you know what? That's a good example, though, of not shackling yourself to your home base, to your zip code. To think of this mindset, even after you say leave a job or career, and now you've got this enterprise, this entrepreneurial business that you've developed. Sometimes it's easy to get into a routine because we're used to the job routine, that we create all these barriers to get away, right? If we talk about, oh, I've got this commitment on Friday afternoon and this commitment happens on every Sunday, and pretty soon you realize you're stuck. And if freedom and flexibility are big things in your life, don't be stuck. I mean, you've got to align your schedule with your values. And so that's something where, hey, if we decide we're going to go to San Diego, we're going to do it. And we're going to make sure that our schedule is clear. Like Michael, you have an example where you tend to batch certain types of work so that certain days of the week you're going to be more free. Talk about that, because that's a really prime example of how to schedule something.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a coach, I have one-on-one phone calls that are bi-weekly, and I also have a mastermind or 2 masterminds that meet weekly. And I'm very intentional about where those land in my schedule. Because I know often I like to travel Thursday through to the end of the weekend. Typically when I go to either a conference or I go to visit family, I want to keep the end of the week a little bit more flexible, because I don't want to have to change 4 appointments just so I can go on a trip, and then I'll have to reschedule, and then it kind of creates this nightmare. So be mindful as you create your regular schedule at home, how you want to set it up so it actually helps you maintain that flexibility to travel when you want to.
That's a good, useful point. I mean, we do the same thing with even one of our kids. So when each of our kids turns 4, we get them into a pre-K program. And there's various aspects of the pre-K program, but the best schedule is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So there's ones that are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we're like, well, no, we're not doing that, because that's going to just mess up our schedule. And so we have told the district and everyone, we will do this class, but it's got to be this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because that fits into our family schedule.
Now, you guys are both good Christians, so you probably would never miss church, right? If you'd always be back on Sundays for church.
Well, they have the services online now, and you can stream the podcast. Because, I mean, God is omnipresent, right? Lightning bolt.
Worms there.
Lightning bolt.
But that's another example that we talked about, too, is, we want to be plugged in locally to our community, but we don't want to be flaky on our commitments. So one of the things that's worked for me and Ruthie is Ruthie's volunteered at our church as a substitute. And so she'll come in when they need somebody, like a reinforcement. That way, we're not locked in for the next 6 months where we can never leave for a week because something comes up, a conference or a trip, family, and then she's having to kind of back out of a commitment that she makes.
That's good. That's good to have that kind of flexibility. So guys, as we wrap up, just remember, number one, have a little paradigm shift. When you're talking about business, when you're talking about family and the travel aspects that either of those could provide, maybe it's okay to blur the lines and develop what you want in a business trip or in a family trip so that they can complement each other. And then number two, make sure that you have clear expectations and you're planning and having the right conversations before the trip happens. Get on the same page so that your business could succeed, but that your wife and your family will feel just as satisfied. And then number three, remember, as you're setting up your schedule, your normal routine, be careful that you're not overloading it with too many commitments at home that you're not able to leave and go do these amazing things. Guys, anything else to add?
Yeah, just remember, freedom and flexibility are king. We want to build a life that is coming out of our values. And so this is why you just got to remember this stuff.
Yeah, take advantage of the opportunity to travel. You can do so much for your family and to grow your business at the same time. It doesn't have to be a separate venture. Go for it, guys.
Amen and amen.
Thank you for listening to the Entrepreneurial Family Man podcast. For show notes, resources, and to connect with us, visit www.entrepreneurialfamilyman.com.